Step one, accept that accepting is gonna take time. Like no matter what, you cannot climb Mount Everest, as you said, in one day. So yeah, second step, accept yourself, accept what you're like, accept what your dreams are, and accept is everything else is not about you. I mean, like if someone doesn't like what you like, doesn't matter. It's what you like, and as long as you're not hurting other people, you're fine. That's what you like. Three, accept what happened to you, no matter how painful it was. And we mentioned about stop running. We mentioned about empathy, and we mentioned about finding. And here's the third thing we forgot about: finding stuff that came out positive from that. And you mentioned the example of in your case, you actually realized your dream, how you love fantasy worlds, and how that led to your writing. That very very traumatic event happened to you, led to positive stuff. You were able to humanize the people that caused you that pain with empathy, and you stopped running from it with the writing. You actually stopped running from it and started mending yourself. So yeah, that's step three. Accept whatever pain happened to you. Four, accept the people around you, and accept that you're not gonna be able to change the people around you, but you can always change the people around you in the sense that you can choose who's around you. And that doesn't mean that you don't want
your picnic table.
Mm-hmm. And that
Who's at your picnic table?
Mm-hmm. That was the analogy. It doesn't mean that you don't want the meeting, just not at your picnic table, as you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, accept the people around you. That's the first step. And yeah, the change doesn't need to be dramatic. It could be one day you're hanging with them 50% of your time, then you could drop it down to 40%, then 20%, and then you may realize that 20% your relationship with them is healthy. So keep them in that percentage. And finally, have a routine to make your days happier. That go from having your morning routine, implementing techniques like being mindful about what you say, because whatever you say returns to you somehow. That's the example of saying I'm happy when someone asks you how you are, and you're gonna have to think about stuff while you're happy. And yeah, more importantly, those are the things actually. Yeah, whenever you get into your mind, that's where you're gonna get. So yeah,
love it.
Those are the 5 steps, and I think if we implement this, we can make 2020 the best years of your life. Like
for sure,
right now. Like, of course, accepting takes time. We mentioned that, but this is a great list to get started by changing the world outside of you, by changing the world inside of you. Well, welcome everybody. This is the 5th ever Cyplot Talk in English, and today I have a very special guest that has a unique story that is going to help us realize how we can make 2020 the best year of our lives by tackling our demons inside, by tackling everything that we have within, and use and embrace those things we have inside to change the world around us. So yeah, I think her story is unique. It's a perfect analogy and a perfect example of you could do this yourself. You just need to find the common ground. And yeah, let's get started. Her name is Stephany Anne. She recently wrote an amazing book called A Poppy Rose. So I will say you got that 2020 started very, very interestingly. You're, fulfilling your dream of being a creative writing professional. And now you're officially published, which is awesome.
It's crazy, literally crazy.
No. It's like, wow. I want to write something someday, published soon. So definitely gonna need pointers. We're gonna have to do another episode about how to get a
for sure. I think that'd be very helpful because I feel like when I published, I was like doing it by myself. Like I was just literally just like, okay, like we'll see what happens. I would have liked the mentorship. So I think that's a good idea next time.
Yeah, got it. We are doing that. But for now, let's focus on the story behind the book, because I think that's what's gonna, give us the perfect example of the topic of today, which is changing the world from within. So without waiting more, let's get started. Stephany, I'm gonna start with one question.
Of course.
Is, when did you get into writing? And is there a story behind that? Like, do you think you always like writing, or is there something that led you to that passion?
I feel like I've always been a fan of literature ever since I was really young. Like I always tell the story how my mom took me to watch The Chronicles of Narnia in the movies when it premiered, and I was just like so fascinated. Like I was like, this is like so weird. Like this is like not real. Like what's going on? And so after that, like I fell in love with the movie, and she took me because she would read these stories when she was like a little girl. So she handed down her copies of Narnia to me, which I still have. And she's like, if you take care of these books, I'll get you your own. Obviously, I take care of my books like they're my children. And so I ended up getting like my own copies of the books, and I just like read through them. I thought they were incredible. I was like 9 years old. I was really little. And then I remember, because obviously like Narnia has like a hidden meaning, like it talks about, it's really religious, so it represents like Aslan is like God, the wardrobe is the Holy Spirit, and then like the witch is like the devil. And I was just so fascinated because I had just read a whole series, and I was like, wait, that's what that meant. I was like, oh, like
Yeah,
that's so
I'm just
smart, like the
me now.
metaphors, like yeah, I was like mind blown. I was like, how did I like not realize that? So that's when I fell in love with literature and how it can represent one thing for me and one thing completely different for you. I always found comfort in books. Like I would always like just absolutely like lose myself in books and just start thinking, like imagining everything the way I wanted to imagine. Like it was like a movie in my mind. It was so much fun. And then as I got older, like I've always been like really open and honest about this. Like I suffered from PTSD and anxiety, and like my escape were books. Like I was having like a really horrible day. I just wanted to go home, read Hunger Games, see what's up at District 12 in Pan Am and whatnot. And I used to I was really scared of the world. So I used to see the world and travel through books. Whether it was like a real life thing or it was, something fictional like Narnia or Hogwarts or Camp Half-Blood and Percy Jackson.
Mhm.
And that is when I did find my love for literature. And then when I was 12, one day, literally out of the blue, I woke up and I was like, Mom, I'm going to be a writer. She was like, okay, you do that. At the beginning, it was kind of like my parents were like, are you sure like you want to pursue writing? Like it's a tough career, blah, blah, blah. We talked it out, and I realized that I have other passions in life, like besides writing, but everything that I've done up to this point, all signs always end up pointing to writing. And when I started writing and like really expressing myself is when I started to sort of like, me being dramatic, like stitching up my own wounds. Like I had been through like a couple of rough years. I feel like emotionally with the people that were around me, like I wasn't surrounded by the most positive people at one point in my life. And that really did take like a mental and emotional toll on me. And through writing, I expressed myself, and I also got to know myself better. Like, oh, is that how I really feel? Okay, I should do something about that. And it just really helped me find my way and find myself, and it's gotten me to where I am today. And so that is why it's super special to me. It's always been really special. It's always been something I've had within me, I like to think, since I was really young.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's a very solid story. And when you say that one day out of nowhere, I don't feel like it was out of nowhere. I feel like, I mean, have you heard about the law of attraction?
Oh, for sure. I live by the law of attraction. Like
I
that
mean,
is like my favorite.
mine too. I mean, it's like, it's incredible the power of subconscious have, and you've been training your subconscious to lead to that
Yeah.
moment, and that's something that I think is awesome.
Oh my
But
God, I love
also,
that. I
yeah,
like
no, no, no.
love that.
It's
Yes.
we can go deeper into that later, definitely. I mean, that's something I also love, and it's also I also love it because people sometimes think the law of attraction is a crazy weird thing that has no science behind it. But believe me,
Yeah.
there is a lot of science behind this, and also is very very proven to work in many ways. And we can go deeper into why, how, and I think is these are the kind of stuff that people don't dive deeper into them because sometimes they are not presented in the most you know accessible format. So I think that's why
For
we are
sure.
here today to talk about that, about your story, about different stuff that needs to have a more accessible format. So having said that, I heard from your story very interesting things. I heard first you found a hobby, but then you
Yeah.
found as well a dream, and more importantly, you also found a way to deal with pain from
Yeah.
the past, like to remove pain. And that reminds me, there is a very cool phrase, and I want to see what you think about this, until which point we have control on this. But I have heard the phrase, a pain is inevitable. It's gonna happen to you sometimes. It's gonna hurt, but suffering is a choice. Suffering is
Love,
a choice you make, and
love.
if you continue to suffer, I mean, it's not a choice you're making. It's because you're deciding to wear that. I don't know. I mean, I would love to go deeper because I have no idea how you felt, and it's awesome that you mentioned PTSD, like you were open about it. So yeah, that's what I want to ask you. Like, how true is the phrase for someone that actually went through something like PTSD?
Super true. I feel like so what happened to me, I'm just gonna address it, and this is something that I'm really proud of myself. I felt like this happened to me when I was 9 years old. I am 22, and it wasn't until like guess quarantine, the world was collapsing, that I could like openly talk about the situation. I was held at gunpoint with both of my aunts when we were like literally crossing the streets. I was 9, like they got beat up, like it was like really bad. It really traumatized me. And obviously growing up in a third world country that is Honduras, I mean a country that I love and adore for sure, but it's it's better now, but it did go through like a really like rough patch when it was like super insecure. Like I was scared of the outside world, which is why I would just lose myself in books, because I could go anywhere I wanted and be safe within, confined to the walls of my bedroom, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um and it did take me a while for me to like, I guess, like really like work things out and like stop that suffering, stop myself from not going to a dinner because I didn't want to leave, stop myself from not going to the movies because I was terrified. But I do believe in timing, and timing is perfect. And I think that eventually I did work on not being scared, on not being anxious, on feeling okay again. And I feel like when I got to college, it was just like a completely different world for me, and I was ready to go for it. Like I wasn't scared of the world. I wasn't scared of succeeding. I wasn't scared of being seen. Like I was ready to like work hard and make my dreams come true. And that is why when I published my book last year, October 12th, 2019, it was like I was ready to do that. Even though I've always wanted to become a writer, I needed to go through that pain and suffering of figuring myself out, of figuring out my emotions, of cutting out people from my life that weren't benefiting me. They would criticize everything because I was unique and that I had dreams and aspirations, and I don't think, I know that I wasn't made to fit the mold. And I don't say it in like a show off way. Like it's, you have to acknowledge what you're capable of and how powerful you can be when you go to do what you love, like if that makes sense. Like I feel like when I realized that I could become a writer, which is what I've wanted to do since I was 12, and then I started writing, I opened up my writing page, I started getting such amazing reception from my close friends and family, but like random people online, they would just like find my page like, hi, greetings from Australia, and I was like, how did you even get here? Like, what are you doing? They're like, thank you for this. I really needed to hear what you had to say today. And then that's when I realized, like, you know what, maybe I'm not alone. Maybe my pain isn't just like unique to me. Like maybe other people do feel anxious and they feel sad and worried and mad and conflicted and whatever. Like in the end, like we're all not as different as we make ourselves out to be. I feel like we are all meant to embark on different paths and succeed in different things, yes, but we all go through a process of change that allows us to bloom into the people that we want to become. And I think that my process came really early in life, because I was like, when you're 9, the world is like butterflies and sunshine and rainbows. And then to me, it was gun violence, poverty, corruption, like things that weren't, you know, like I don't think someone at 9 years old should be that aware of. Like my childhood innocence was like cut in half. So I do believe that that allowed me to grow up a little bit faster. And I would like get frustrated because like my friends wouldn't understand when I would be like nervous. Like, why are you nervous? Like, chill out. Like, obviously we were like 10, 11, 12. Like, what do we know, you know? But instead of cursing life for the heartbreaks, I thank it for the lessons it taught me, because it's gotten me to where I am today. It's gotten us to this conversation. It's gotten me to the point where I can physically hold my book in my hand And that is something to this day, like I know I'm a writer and I'm good with words, but I cannot explain what it feels like to have my book in my hand. Yeah, it's like, and it's something so special because of course, oh, sorry, my low battery came up. Of course, it's something super special. Like, I just can't explain it. Like, it's mine. Like, I know you can read it. Anyone else can read it because it's available for purchase, whatever. But that feeling is so peculiar to just me. And that is what makes everything worthwhile. Like, the whole journey was worth it. Like, from the moment that that gun got pointed in my head to the moment where I said, I am done. I am done with PTSD and feeling afraid. I'm going to go after my dreams. Like, the whole process was just like, and it got me to where I am today. And it's just like, you got to give yourself a little pat on the back. You know, sometimes we're our worst critics, and for sure, a little bit off tangent, but definitely you got to feel the pain. You got to suffer, but you got to get up and go again and keep fighting, for sure.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. I'm hearing like so much. I mean, I have like so many follow-up questions from that. This is such a powerful story. And what I think is like so powerful about it is the fact that you're being so vulnerable about that milestone. But what you declare the milestone, the pain,
Yeah.
the problem that changed your life. And I was listening to the other day to this podcast, and they were talking about how you find your personal brand is by finding what problem did you solve, like what crazy problem did you solve, and how now, because you solved that problem somehow, you became qualified to help people with similar problems. And it feels to me like this problem help you help you realize a lot about yourself, like beyond just that problem specifically and what the problem entails, but also empower both you to find a solution that people can relate to solve the similar problems you went through, but also empowered you to solve many problems you had for yourself. So you wrote both for yourself and from the world, and those are two different audiences. But in a way, you found a way to do it in one book. I'm curious about how, like, can you describe a little bit about the process of you sitting down, how this became way more than a hobby, because you were reconsidering your toxic environments, you were reconsidering your toxic thoughts, you were reconsidering everything. So I would love to hear about the list of things it helped you reconsider.
Yeah, so I do think that obviously, like I've always said, like writing has always been in me. Like it's something that I've always I just organically like go back to, you know, and that's something that I feel like I didn't really pay much attention to that growing up, because I feel like obviously like when you grow up, you go from I want to be a vet to I want to be an astronaut to I want to be a singer. Like I swear to God, I swear for like years of my life, I wanted to be Hannah Montana. Like I thought I had like a singing voice of an angel. Like I sound like you've heard me. Like hello. Like no. Like I sound awful. But I feel like organically I always just tend to go back to writing and reading, and that just how it makes me feel. I feel like in the end, the problem, obviously, like there's a lot of things that you can't control. Like I can tell you, the problem was the way other people made me felt. The problem was that I lived in an insecure country. The problem was that I would get severely nervous and paranoid. Like I could tell you that that is the problem, but those are just external factors that in the end you can't really control. So instead of me getting pissed at the world for what it's done to me, I decided to take action and do what can I do for myself. I can meditate, I can seek professional help, I can talk out my problems, I can write it out, I can spend more time doing what I love, I can put a pause to those friendships that were bringing me down, that didn't believe in me. I could look for new friendships or strengthen the ones that I already had. Like I took this whole like, it's kind of, I mean, it did take a while for me to realize it, because again, like a young and naive, like I was a teenager in freaking middle school, like a child. Like I look back and I'm like, wow, like I've seen so much and I'm just 22. Like what's next, you know? So I didn't see it as a problem. I saw it more as just like a little step in the road, but how will I get over it? And I felt like once I started to work on myself and feeling myself and okay in my skin and confident in what I like to do, like I like to read and write, deal with it. Like if you don't like it, literally go to the back of the line, because I'm at this point where I'm just like, that makes me happy and I do not want my happiness taken from me, you know? I started making friends that understood me and accepted me. And obviously, like, surrounding yourself with positive people is like monumental. Like, thankfully, I always went home to a really positive household. Like, my parents are my best friends. I love my brother. I love my sister. So when I was home, like, I felt fine. Like, there literally weren't any issues. But when you're 15, it's the people that you're in school with that feel like your whole world, you know? Like,
Yeah,
so exactly. So that's why I
completely.
think that it took like, yeah, like that's, and I feel like even though I was receiving like so much love and support at home and I felt great, like, I mean, when you're 14 and 15, you just want to fit in, man. Like, you're not thinking about, you know, being like, you just want to fit in, you know? And that's like, that's normal. Like, we all go through it. I do think that it did affect me a bit more than what I would have liked it to, but it just made me realize how, because people always tell me like, you're such a unique person, like, because I have like my crazy ideas and my different tastes and like all, like, you know me, like I'm literally fat girl, like I'm my thing, you know.
Mhm.
So instead of having people see it as a bad thing, I found people who saw it as a good thing. Like, you're freaking crazy, but I like that, you know. You're loud and you
Completely.
scream, but I like that, you know. And I feel like that's when you just start to realize who and how you're investing your time. And that was monumental. And I feel like going to college and like being by myself, like completely like living by myself, like doing my laundry, like cooking for myself, like, you know, taking care of myself, is when you start to realize, I'm not going to let this little thing like bother me anymore. I'm not going to let this, like, you just start to realize a lot of things. And I feel like that's when you start addressing not just like external problems. Like, you let go of those problems you can't control, but you work on what you can control. And that's how I went about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome because I think now we're getting down to the main point. I think if there's something that people are gonna no, I mean like all this is important because it's linked to what I think is the ultimate list of things that will help people change the world by changing themselves. And it's
Yeah.
realizing, as you said, it's all about control. It's all
Yeah.
about understanding that you have different expectations for yourself, different expectations for your friends, different
Yeah.
expectations for your family, maybe for your country, and then for your world, whatever that means in that moment. And I guess, like, in a way, uh, basically, you realize there's a lot of stuff about myself that I can control, and the stuff about myself I can't control. So I'm gonna focus on the stuff I can control, and you know, maybe it's not about changing myself, maybe it's about changing the perspective about myself. And
Yeah.
there you go.
That's true.
That's a huge, it sounds simple,
No,
but
but it's huge.
hard. It's hard and it's huge, and it's because you cannot read the label if you're inside of the jar. That's actually an expression I really like. That's basically, if you're inside of a jar, you're inside of too into yourself, you cannot see yourself as an outsider, and that's difficult. Now,
Yeah.
the same is true on, about friends, for instance. um, in this sense, sometimes you want to change your friends. I mean, there are a couple of options. You could either change the people you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
or you could try, it goes the other way around. It's harder to understand how they're feeling and not see them as an outsider. Just like it
Yeah.
was hard for you it was hard for you to see yourself as an outsider, it's hard for you to not see them as an outsider. And that is called empathy, having the ability to understand that maybe some stuff is not personal. Maybe, I mean, like, for instance, when you're starting a project, we were talking about this in the other talk the other day with a couple of entrepreneurs, and they were speaking about, like, yeah, I mean, some people are like dreaming about the fact that in the instant they create an Instagram account for a project that they love, everybody's gonna follow them. Like, all of their 100 followers 1,000 followers and friends are gonna follow them, and that's simply not true. Not everybody's gonna follow.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff is not personal. I mean, most of the stuff or everything is sometimes it's not personal. So,
I love that.
so yeah, about myself, thinking about yourself, what you control, what you cannot control, what you like, what you don't like, about your friends, what you control, what you can't control, how to mitigate that, about your
Yeah.
family, in your case, your family was amazing. So, like as you were speaking, but for some people might be different. So,
Yeah.
same process. Think about what you can control, what you cannot control, I think. Then there is the fourth step is about your country, maybe, or your where you live, as per
Yeah.
se, like what you control, what you cannot control, and finally the world, like understand,
Yeah.
like, and saying like you don't have control stuff is maybe a hard statement. It's more like saying, is it worth for you to try to control that?
Mm-hmm.
And for some people it's going to be true, like for some people, for instance, are very moved about being, changing the world, about being, I don't know, the environment. They care a lot about the environment, and even though it's very very hard to do that amount of change they want to do, they are doing it because this is their true calling. It's what they want
Yeah.
to do. The true calling is actually, and yeah, so the question is not what you can control and you can't control. It's more like, is it worth to try to control it, or is better to change my mindset surrounding that?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I honestly, I just wanted to really pinpoint on what you said about having empathy, because that is so important. Like, I have a friend who they grew up with kind of like a really rough childhood. They were really hurt by people they loved. And I know this because I grew up alongside them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so they would come at me and just give me like a lot of like negative remarks whenever I'd say something that like something made me happy. It'd be like, oh, this and that, oh, that and that. Like, they'd be like really judgmental about it. And for so long I was like, God, like, they're so mean. Like, why are they so mean? Like, and I just paint them out as the enemy. And they were the enemy for lots of years. But then as I grew up and I started to mature, I realized they act this way because of this and this factor. And I feel like that shows such a sign of growth when you can humanize the person or the people that hurt you, you know? Like, I feel like a really like groundbreaking thing for me was going back to when I was held at gunpoint. Like, they were doing what they had to do to survive, because we live in a corrupt government where the government steals money and people don't go to school because there's no funding for public schools. There's no medicine to like, I mean, obviously it wasn't correct and it did scar me for 14-16 years, but I realized, like, i I understand why they did it. Like, I'm not saying it's correct, but you come from a point where you understand why things happened the way they did. And that is one of the reasons why one of my biggest dreams further along the line is when I've been like established and a career woman and whatever, I would love to fund a school in Honduras and give people the ability to go like to education, because education changed my life. Like, it taught me to work hard. There's a whole world of possibilities. Like, it's made me realize that. And I do believe that education should be a right and not a privilege. A privilege is buying a $2 million car. It's owning a mansion. It's going on. That's a privilege. But a right is education. It's food. It's shelter. It's water. It's freedom. It's safety. And those things aren't given evenly. And I believe I speak on behalf of Venezuela as well, in a lot of Latin American countries and a lot of countries in the world. So that growth did come to me, like learning to be empathetic towards other people, because you can't just go about being like, oh, you're so mean. Like, of course, you're not going to like take it and just accept people being mean and rude to you, but you always have to know that there's a reason. There's a bully that hurt the bully. And it is a vicious cycle. And it's one that some people do end up cutting, some people don't. But what can you do about it? Just try to accept people as they are. Again, don't be like, insult me, take all the shots you want. Like, you got to stand your ground and be like, hey, that's not good. But you also need to be more empathetic, because there are many broken souls and people that are hurting, just like you, just like me, just like anyone in the world. Like, we've all been through our own crap, and it's learning that that's why people act the way they do. And I feel like once you realize that, you kind of just like, I'm not the problem anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
detach yourself of their
yeah.
actions.
Because I
Detach.
thought I was the one that was weird, that liked this and that and preferred to read a book in lunch rather than sit somewhere in the lunch. Like, you know, like I thought I was the issue. I realized I wasn't. I mean, obviously there's some things that I still work on with myself because of course I'm not perfect and no one is perfect. But you just got to learn to accept that you treat people with kindness, you respect other people, you support other people. You know, you have to learn to just be good to yourself and people around you, and then eventually like you'll figure it out. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit off tangent. But yeah, I do believe that empathy is growth. It's massive growth for sure.
Wow, no, I love it. Like you were mentioning, like I mean, for me, something resulted a lot of what you said is the phrase "it's not about you," and you use that in a way for humanizing even the
Yeah.
people that cause you the biggest pain you have known in your life, in that sense, or this traumatic experience. And would you say that you even found forgiveness?
For sure. But I feel like first I forgave myself
Mm-hmm.
because I am who I am. Like, that's it. Like, I feel like I'm a person that if you talk to me within 5 minutes, like, you know what I'm about, like
Mm-hmm. You don't make
it's,
excuses about being yourself.
yeah,
You're yourself, and
exactly.
whoever likes it, cool. Be part of my ride or die experience,
Exactly.
and
Exactly. And
those
I
are
don't
done. Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean to find a friend that's like 1,000% just like me. Like, I have a friend who I love and adore, and we're literally like, oh my God, like polar opposites, like black and white. Like, we're just so different, but we have mutual respect for each other. And he's never called me out for being myself, and I can never call him out for being himself. Like, we do butt heads a lot, but I love him. And I know that if I needed someone, I could literally just call him tomorrow and be like, hey, like, I need someone to talk to, And I feel like that friendship with him, and I've told him, like, he's like one of my best friends from college. When I met him as like my best friend, I was like, I just appreciate the fact that we're so different, but we get along. Because I feel like to some extent, it's not like you were taught, but I guess you just understand that you're not similar. Oh, you can't get along. But if there is that mutual respect that I was saying, and you're comfortable with being yourself and he's comfortable with being himself, like, we've been friends since literally freshman year. We met through House Party on the app because I was talking to a friend and he jumped in, and then my friend left and we just talked for like an hour, and we were like in the same residence hall. Like, honestly, such a cute friendship story.
That's awesome.
It's so cute. I know, right? Like, it's so cute. Yeah, you just got to learn to accept the fact that you are you. You're not going to change yourself for anyone, because when I was growing up, I was trying to fit different molds. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that, because I want her to accept me for this and him to accept me for that. But you got to realize, not everyone's going to accept you for who you are. You just be yourself. And when I was trying to find myself through other people, that is when I completely lost myself. Like, I had no idea who I was. Like, what is Stephany? What am I? Like, I'm just existing, It's like, what do I like? What don't I like? And so that journey of self-discovery was like monumental for me, because like now I know who I am. Now I know what I like in a relationship, in a friendship, in a work environment. Like, I know what I like to do. I can tell you right now, never in my entire life will I ever be an accountant. Like, I will tell you that straight on. Never. Trauma, not going back to that. But I know that I could do sales, I could do marketing, I can do writing, I can do communications. And that just comes with taking it easy on yourself. Like, you just can't, we're our worst critic. Like, you gotta chill. You gotta be like, hey, today was a crappy day. You know what? Tomorrow's a new one. Go to bed, meditate, go for a run, do whatever you gotta do to relax, but just keep on going.
All right. So first step, accept yourself. I think
You
that's
got it.
so. I think that's something we need to agree on. Like, officially, if we are making a list of how to change yourself to change the world around you, the first step is accepting yourself, and stop making excuses about you being yourself. I mean, of course, um, there might be some habits here and there that might affect the people you love, and those you need to consider if those are worth keeping. But
Yeah.
about the stuff you like, and about, yeah, I mean, the stuff, being clear on what you like is one of the most powerful privileges I will say, because not everybody realizes what they
Yeah.
like. And I mean, even some people take like so long to realize what they actually like.
Yeah.
I guess in my sense, I also was lucky that I really realized early in life what I like. Um, that's something that I don't know. Like I seen a lot of close people trying to, going through that, and it's
Yeah, for
difficult.
sure.
Once you find what you like, at least you have something temporal to hold on and say, "This is my filter to accepting whatever opportunities come to me." But yeah, moving on, keeping on the topic, accept yourself. And
Yeah.
what would you say if you will put it in a list? Like, what would you say is the best way to accept yourself in a phrase?
I feel like there's like this article that I wrote about how you can't go, I literally said this, you can't go out into the world and give your 100% if you're not feeling at your 100%. And I feel like that is like something that I wrote and I was like, oh, I like this. And I kind of ingrained it to myself because sometimes words just come to me and until later that I'm realizing, I'm like, oh, like that makes sense. I feel like we all have our insecurities, like for sure. Like I feel like I'm not 100% there with myself. I don't know if you are, but there's a lot of us who aren't, and that is okay. But one thing that I am really confident in is my work ethic. Like I know that what I want, like I'll get. Why? Because I persevere. I work hard. I
Mm.
got to move things around to make things happen. Like my book didn't happen overnight. It didn't. And I feel like once you start, like, think of it as a mountain. You're not going to climb Mount Everest in one day. Like you got to go little by little. So, maybe first step is accepting your career. Second step is accepting, how good of a friend you can be. Third step is accepting that you like your hair, your eyes, your feet, like whatever, like, I don't know. And I do feel like self-love is not selfish. It's actually selfless. And it's gotten really mixed up in the media, like really taboo, like, oh, you love yourself, oh, narcissist, like you're all about you, like blah blah blah. And like it shouldn't be that way, because I feel like if you accept yourself, then you can allow yourself to have better friendships, better, more meaningful relationships. Like you
Mhm.
can really connect with people. Like if I was feeling at my 30% and you come to me and ask me for advice, I'm only going to give you 30% of advice. That's where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and if you're in a relationship, like if you love yourself at a 30% and someone comes and loves you at a 35%, that's still failing, but it's five more than what you do. So you kind of just settle. So it's important to just think about that. And it's a mountain. It's hard, it's difficult, but slowly but surely you tackle it. You climb Everest.
All right. So now I have a first step before accepting yourself, actually. Just come up.
Climbing Mount Everest. I'm
No,
joking.
well, yeah, in that phrase, accepting. I mean, first of all, I think we're gonna come up with a nice list about accepting different stuff. But the
Yeah.
first step is accepting that
Yeah.
accepting takes time.
Oh, love that. Love
So, and even if you accepted 50%, 30%, 20%, as long as you are increasing that percentage every time, you are
Yep.
progressing. I mean,
Yep.
even if you decrease your acceptance because you decided there's some stuff that needs to change, that's
Yep.
okay, as long that number keeps moving. So
For sure.
that accepting is gonna take time. First.
Oh, I love that. That's good. Yes, we're doing a great job. Love
All right.
that.
So step two, as we mentioned, accepting yourself, and we can go deeper on that. Three, a and I think you went very deep and amazingly deep, perfectly deep into this. And
I'm
is
a deep person.
you're a deep person. Accepting that what happened to you happened to you.
For sure.
And that's for any traumas, any pains, how those pains might have changed completely your belief in, for instance, for you change your belief about the world. You said this world is a world about violence and it's a dangerous world. So I'm gonna, escape by going to these amazing other worlds, which turn out to be your source of a dream. And that is awesome. But
Yeah.
that's a process that you need to go through, that understand that, yeah, maybe that happened for a reason. And even if it not happened for a reason, if you don't believe there is a mystical, force acting upon us, at least something good there's always something good that you can rescue from that. And the other thing you mentioned is a empathy, trying to realize that maybe it wasn't about you. I mean, more than forgive, as you said, I forgave myself for what happened to me because I realized it wasn't me. It was these people that were probably, in this horrible, grew up in these horrible environments because of this corrupt government and whatnot. And yeah, that's what they do to survive, because probably that's what their parents did to survive. And they were also maybe under a lot of pressure. Maybe the people, specifically the person that was holding the gun to you, someone else was holding the gun to him. Like, we don't really know exactly. Yeah, and I'm not saying it's okay. As you said, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not going to accept that. That's not part of the reality I want.
Exactly.
But it's not about yourself. And it happened. And yeah, you need to accept that maybe there is a way to find forgiveness there. And there's a way to, find something positive about the moment that happened.
For sure. I love that. And when you were talking about like thinking about the past and all that, I just want to share a quote that has stuck with me since I'm a child. So in Lion King, Rafiki says, like, the past, you either run from it or you learn from it. And I feel like running from the past will just make you keep running and not stop. Like, it will tire you out. Like, you just literally think of someone running on a marathon 24/7. Like, that's how it feels like when you run from things that have happened to you. But if you learn to accept it, you can pause, take a break, breathe, then get up and go again. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's a very powerful analogy. I never thought about, wow, Lion King in Disney is very wise.
So I am 1,000% gonna go watch Lion King after this.
Yeah, me too. No, this is awesome.
I'm a child. I love it. I'm a child.
Because yeah, it feels this way. Like, if you're escaping from a problem, you're not, resting from it. That problem is behind you. You just keep running until you cannot run more, and the problem catches up to you. And maybe you don't even stop to solve it for once and for all. You actually take a break to deal with the problem for 5 seconds, and then you keep running again. And that's the problem. The problem is the problem, if that makes sense.
The problem, it does make sense. The problem is the problem. Now you're gonna address it or you're gonna run from it. That's what you do is up to you. But yeah.
Awesome. So I'm gonna add, for the accepting what happened to you, there are 3 sub steps so far. I'm gonna place them there. We talk about empathy. We talk about acceptance. No, was it empathy? Well, running, not running. That's one thing you need to do. And the third one, which was?
Was it time takes time? Something along the line?
No, that's the first one. The first step. This is the
wow. And you said it. I was like, oh, I love that. Okay, well, it'll come back to us later. It'll come back to us.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's recorded. So
it's recorded for sure. We'll go back.
All right. So yeah, we have a couple of sub steps for the step 3, which is accepting to what happened to you. We're gonna go deeper into those. But yeah, as I mentioned, I really love lists. That's why I know it's just that I like having people like, here's this amazing conversation we had, and these are the takeaways that you need to start implementing in your life if you still, I mean, it's to make 2020 the best year of your lives. And
you got to break it down. You can't climb Mount Everest overnight. You got to break it down.
So all right, okay, so step 4. So we have step 3, which was accepting what happened to you. Now the next step is to talk a lot about the people surrounding you. So, and we also talk a little bit about how not everything is personal, and a couple of things like that. So accepting the people surrounding you are the way of you. They are. You cannot change them, but you can change them. Just change who you're hanging with. I mean, it's this phrase where you cannot change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. So yeah, I think you muted. Yep.
There we go. It does make sense. It's like you can't change them emotionally and who they are, but listen, this friendship is no longer working for me. Goodbye, sayonara, thank you, next. Like, you also gotta like be a little bit, I don't want to say selfish, but like you gotta put yourself first and be like, are they really being there for me? Are they good for my mental health? Are they making me feel good or bad about myself? You gotta ask these questions.
Yeah, no, completely. And here's the thing, like, I actually could talk about relationships for long because I really love the topic, from mentorships to accountability partners to vacuums and chargers. Like, I love that topic. But here's the thing. So people realize, and it sounds harsh, but here's the thing. You don't, it's not like you don't want them to keep eating. I actually heard this phrase from a podcast the other day, which was awesome. You want them to keep eating, just not at your table, and that's it. Like, you want them to do well in life. Like, that's awesome. Simply is that hanging with them maybe takes away energy from you instead of give you energy.
I love that. That was honestly like, that was perfectly phrased. I feel like that also ties into empathy. Like if I don't like you, I'm not gonna hope that your world crumbles down, because that is not healthy for anyone to feel those emotions towards anybody. But it is healthy to distance yourself. It's like, you know what? I wish you the best, figure your stuff out, and like, that's it. I love that analogy. Love it. Explained it perfectly. Spot on. Yes. Loved it.
Cool.
Loved it.
So yeah, that's the thing. And also the thing is, like, it's not that you need to do it from one day to another. It's like you're not hanging with them 100% of the time and there's gonna be zero. You could start by hanging them 80% of the time, or then 50, then 30, then 20, and then without realizing it, maybe even at 20%, you realize that at that percentage, our relationship is healthy. Maybe that's where I want you. Or maybe you realize, like, I mean, let's just, not hang out that much with that person. And here's the thing. There is very, very, very funny people, and very people that makes you happy. And here's the thing, makes you happy in some ways. But toxic people can also be that people. I mean, that person can also be the same person that takes away energy of every time you hang out with them, because they just speak about politics and how the world is crumbling, and I don't know, they start speaking about, all this negative stuff, that even though this person is awesome in some ways, maybe the way they're acting right now, or the way the things they like to talk about, it's just the stuff that takes away energy from you. And
for sure. And I feel like, going on that, my mother always told me, like, there's friendships for everything. Like, there's a friend you're going to party with. There's a friend you're going to study with. There's a friend you're going to do this and that. And I feel like throughout, and she did teach me that. And then I feel like throughout my experience in college, I realized that people that take off all those boxes, those are the ones that you want to keep in your life. Like, I believe in soulmates, plural. I do believe, like, I'm super old school. Like, I do believe in, like, one romantic soulmate for everybody, but I do believe that there are so many people that you meet that are your soulmates. Like, they're your friendship soulmates. Like, people that I've had with me since I was little, people that I've grown up and met throughout, college, studying abroad, growing up, blah, blah, blah. And you just know. Like, it's just so organic. Like, there's this spark, and you just know. And it's like, you're meant to be in my life, and I'm meant to be in your life. And, and I feel like that's why, when the whole quarantine thing began and the world was ending, did the Mayas predict 2020 or 2012? Did they screw up? We don't know. That's when I really realized who's there for me, who was checking up on me when I was checking up on them. And obviously a two-way street, but that's when you realize. And I feel like it's been good because I realized a lot of things. So made me appreciate people that I already did 1,000 times more, and then made me realize maybe you're not so my ride or die as I thought, you know what I mean? Like, and it's important to ask these conversations and think about who's surrounding you at what points of your time, because we all evolve. Like, you and I, like, we know, like, you have your podcast going, this is your passion. I have my writing, but we're so young and we're going to continue changing. But we continue changing knowing who we are deep down. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I figured myself out completely, but at least I know what I'm about in here. Oh my God, super cheesy, but that's so true.
No, it makes sense. And here's the thing, like, even though if you tomorrow realize that you're into surfing more than you're into writing, that's okay. As long as you have your first goal, and your first goal is to be a writer. I mean, well, your current goal. and that's what you're focused on, and that's what you're giving you 100% at, and that's what wakes you up in the morning. So yeah, this goes for people that don't know yet what they like. Just something that you like a little bit, and
Yeah.
maybe if you start studying a little bit better what the thing is about, you start liking it so much that it can become your actual goal that wakes you up every morning, until someday you realize, okay, I don't want to do this, I want to play the piano professionally. I mean, that's
Yeah,
okay as well. That's
that's
why
okay.
we get more than, I mean, we get an average 70 years, yeah, give or take. I mean, yeah, if you do
Yeah.
very well, you
So
could get to the 100. I know people that get to 100. So
yeah,
yeah, in a decade, a lot can
a
change.
lot can happen.
You
Like
can
for sure.
shift industries, you can do whatever, as
And
long
it's
as you start
obviously
with
like
something.
also like 100% okay to have like no idea. Because I have friends that are like, Steph, like you found your passion. How do I find mine? And I'm like, honestly, it just comes to you at the right moment, right time. Like I do believe in timing, and I believe it's perfect. Like I always say, like my dream since I was 8 years old when I first watched Narnia was to go to London. Like I fell in love with like the British accent and like the culture and the history. Like, oh my God, like I love Shakespeare and C.S. Lewis and George Orwell and like all of these like British artists. Like that's fine. And I was gonna go to London, then something bad happened. I had to like rush home to deal with that, and it was super heartbreaking. I had my ticket ready. But you know when was the first time I went to London? The weekend I published my book. Like how like and it was like random. Like I was just like, oh, you know what? I have this ticket from last year. I'm gonna use it this
Wow.
weekend because I get, I was in co-op a year ago. So my PTO, like I'll take it. And then my favorite number is 12. So I told my publishers, like, I just want my book out to be on the 12th. Like, I feel like September 12th is too early because it's August 30. Let's do October. 2 weeks later, I realized that had happened. And then I was like, swear to God, like, I'm just walking up and down the streets of London with my book in my hand, like, going back to the country that has the most inspiring authors that have inspired me to pursue this, that, were there for me when my days were raining. I just wanted to escape and, like, get out of Earth for a bit. Like, it was such a special feeling that, again, like I just cannot put it into words. And it's when you have those epiphanies that you realize this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to go. Like it just comes to you at the right time. Like you can't force something as magical and as special as your passion. Like, of course it's going to change. Like you said, maybe like in 20 years, I want to become a trapeze dancer. Like who knows what I want to do, but it's just like
It felt like you
giving,
were in that moment of the movie where the hero finally finds out what they want to do.
yeah, like, in Spanish, how we say, dale tiempo al tiempo. You got to give time, because time, the universe, higher power, whatever you want to call it, will put things in your way, will put people in your way, will put tasks in your way, good jobs, bad jobs, great experiences, horrible ones. And it is how you decide to react to those that will ultimately make you realize, I do want this. Like I want to publish my book, a million things came up, but I want it. So I kept going.
And
And that
here's
just
the
makes that
thing.
result sweeter.
And then there's the butterfly effect. Like every decision leads to 500 more. Like
Uh-huh.
every decision you make can lead to many, many other doors to open. But if you're not making any decisions, I mean, and your company and the current decisions are bad, like you won't move from that step. But maybe if you take a decision, that's gonna open 3 other doors for you. That then on is gonna open and more doors for you, and then you will be able to choose. And another thing about passion is that some people have the misconception that the passion has to be something like a technical skill, but it could
Yeah.
also be like, hey, I just really, really, really enjoy socializing. So,
Yeah, for
and if I
sure.
really enjoy socializing, maybe I could be a promoter of some kind, or maybe I just enjoy writing. So I can write for so many, many blogs, different
Yeah,
stuff. Maybe I haven't figured out what my topic is. I haven't figured out, for instance, I really like personal growth. But for you, it could be something else. For the other one, it could be soccer. The other one could be, I mean, maybe you haven't figured out the topic, but you figure out the way, or you have figured out the way, but you haven't figured out the topic, and you can
exactly.
mix and match.
For sure. And I
And
feel like another misconception is that you have to make money off your passion. Like that is not true. Like obviously, like I did publish my book, and
mhm.
eventually I do want to live off my books. Like that is the dream. But how did I get to publishing a book? I worked my co-op. I got hired part-time. I would my first co-op, I always say this, I was steaming mannequins, like like what does that have to do with writing? But it gave me the financial support that I needed to push forth my book, to go to London, to do this and that. Like, I always say, like, a job is a job, period. And obviously, like, living off your passion is the dream, for sure. But if you aren't living off your passion at the moment, don't beat yourself up for it, because everything comes when it's supposed to come. Like, right now I'm doing like a new job. I'm in sales. Like, I love it. It's super different. It's like, I was telling you, like, it's a grown-up job. Like, it's no longer like co-op internship. Like, I'm literally like grown up. And I'm still doing writing because it still makes me happy. And I do need my writing to make me happy. So even though it's not my main source of income, it's still, it's for me. It's mine. And that's, I feel like, when you know that it is your passion. Like, people work because they need to feed families, they need to feed themselves. But if you do what you love for yourself, you're feeding your soul. Deep. And that is when and that is when you realize, this is mine. Like, I will keep it and guard it forever because this is what makes me happy. And these will change with time, and it can be something as simple as baking, or like running, or like, it doesn't have to be publishing a book. Like, we all are different human beings. Like, your passion can just literally be, I don't know, like sewing up cloth and just making tablecloth. Like, I don't know, like, we're all so different. But you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta take care of yourself so you can take care of other people, for sure.
Put the mask on before helping the passenger next down to you.
Yes. That is a great analogy.
Yeah, no. I love it. Actually, I think
You're
it was
killing
me.
the analogies today. Like 10 out of 10 for sure. Loving it.
And more that's actually one representation of the kind of like, well, I wouldn't say law of attraction, more like info sponging, but in a way, law of attraction. Like, for instance, this is stuff like, as you are talking, it triggers part of my memory. Like, for instance, this came from a video from Will Smith, but the other one came from a podcast, and the other came from the other thing. Like, here's the thing. That's kind of how it works. Like, if you're feeding your mind stuff that might not be necessarily useful in the moment, it might become useful later. And if not, you enjoyed consuming that. So that's the same for people. Like, you're meeting people that might not realize, but later in life they do. They have like this show that they want to invite you on, and your businesses align like so perfectly.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Like, we are, if you're doing stuff well, that's why it works. The phrase, people don't believe in the phrase that favors return somehow. Sometimes people are skeptic about that. A lot of people believe, a lot of people don't believe. And some people think that those who believe are just optimistic. But actually, statistically, somehow it's going to return to you whatever good you're putting into the world. Somehow it recycles back. So
No, for sure. I do believe in like vibes, and like your vibes attract your vibes attract your tribe in general. Like,
your
not just
vibe
people,
attract
but like,
your tribe. I
yeah,
mean,
like for
these
sure.
phrases are, I mean, these are all going, no, this is awesome. Stephany,
I love it. No, but it's for sure. It's like, I mean, you can't wake up and be pissed at the world, because then the world's going to be pissed at you. Like, if someone cuts in front of you, you can't control what they're doing in the drive, like when they're driving. Like, if they're crappy drivers, like, that's on them. But like, you can't control how you feel. Like, you're going to really get mad because someone cut you through. You're just going to be like, hey buddy, take a chill, whatever, crank up the music, crank up that Bad Bunny, keep having a great day. You know, like, you gotta be more mindful. Oh yeah, Bad Bunny is like my caffeine. Like, I gotta listen to Bad Bunny at 7 a.m. You gotta be more mindful of these little things that maybe are just reflexes. Like, you drop something, oh crap, whatever, like you cuss, just be like, whatever, pick it up, you know. Like, you got to be more mindful of how you are reacting and what is coming out of you, because words have power. I'm a writer, I live by that. Words have so much power. So you got to change about. Super quick story, fun fact, when I was working at Reebok, my coach asked me every day, hey Steph, how are you feeling? When I was working out at 4:00 after work, we did CrossFit. I'm tired. I'm tired. For a whole week, she asked me how I was feeling. And on the 7th day, she told me, Steph, for a whole week I've asked you, how are you feeling? And you said you're tired. From now on, change to I'm fine, I'm good, I'm superb, I'm fantastic. Even though you're not feeling it, say it. I did. And I did feel a change. Like, what you say, lo que dices, recibes. What you say, you'll get back, you know? And it's important to be more mindful if you want to improve yourself.
I love it because it's actually something. I heard this technique the other day, actually, the one you just mentioned, and basically say if you answer stuff like how you feeling, I'm happy, most of the time people is gonna ask you why, and you're gonna be forced to think
Oh,
about reasons why
that's a
you're
good
happy.
technique.
Hmm. So actually, I done it. I sometimes I forget to do it, but I did it like for a whole week, and it was awesome because actually people was like, "What a great answer!" Like immediately, like I don't know why, but people have an effect on it. And if they ask you, if you, I mean, in the instant they ask you why, everything turns happy. Like, why
That is
am I happy? You could say grateful, and
I do,
then.
yeah. I do
Mhm.
that in the morning. I wake up before I think, and I'm like, I'm grateful for this, and that. I am sending my love to this person, that person, and that person. That just sets the tone for the day, you know? Like,
Mhm.
you're waking up, you're grateful. Because we have to learn to appreciate what we have. Like, I'm grateful I have a bed to sleep in. I'm grateful I can wake up and write. I know I'm
Mhm.
grateful for the notebook I just bought. Like, you got to find happiness in little things because it is so easy, and something the pandemic taught me is it's so easy to get overwhelmed and influenced by what is out there, and you can't control it. I can't do that, so what can I do? Take care of myself, take care of my close friends and family, and just learn to be more grateful about everything, because gratitude sets the tone. It fills you up, it makes you better, it makes you happier, and you just set forth on your day with like a different path, a different vibration. You got to align yourself to the person you want to become and what you want to feel. And that I learned with my law of attraction podcast, which I will definitely share with you after we hang up.
Mhm.
But you
Please
gotta,
do.
it's like if you're a radio station, if you want to listen to country or rock and it's 102.9, why are you on 97.8? Like, tune it up, gotta align yourself to what you want to
Completely.
feel. Oh my god, I
Completely.
love this conversation.
No,
But yeah,
yeah,
that's what you
it's
gotta do.
awesome. It's awesome, and it's like I heard the other day, like your mind is like a garden. You cannot, expect to put tomato seeds and then strawberries are gonna grow up. No,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you get in your mind is what you get, and that goes for people that are skeptical about the writing stuff you're grateful about in the morning. It's not because you're a hippie, no, it's because I'm gonna be, woohoo. No, no,
you're
no,
right.
no, it's because actually it has an impact on your whole day if you
Yeah,
start by
sure.
thinking positive, because it's gonna change, as you said, your radio channel. Instead of attracting stuff is, and here's the thing, the word attracting also misleads people. This actually means like you're gonna keep focusing on
Yeah, for
the stuff that makes you happy. Keep focusing on stuff you're grateful about. Like focusing on opportunities. Like if you have a mind like, okay, today I'm gonna have amazing opportunities,
yeah,
your mind is gonna start looking for those
for
opportunities. Like maybe I don't know, like a contact you see in your phone. If you weren't looking for opportunities, this name that you see in your phone is not gonna trigger, huh? This is a person I might want to invite to my podcast. And that's how I got to Stephany Anne on the podcast.
oh.
So so yeah, I mean that's, you get what you're looking for. And if you in the morning, and the way to change what you're looking for is by in the morning doing this exercise. Like I don't know if being grateful is not something that, I mean, if writing a gratitude journal is
Yeah,
not something that is for
exactly.
you, there's other stuff. But just
Yeah,
like
for
be
sure.
mindful about how you can change your focus of the whole day. Like maybe
For
for you,
sure.
it's
Like,
just
I don't
having a
write
poster.
it down, but as
Mhm.
soon as I wake up, I just say it in my mind. Like, that's what works for me. I
Mhm.
did try like gratitude writing for a bit, but it's just like, I don't know. Like, I just wake up, think about it, get going, do whatever I need to do, listen to my podcast, whatever. It's so important though to also like have a routine, because habits build success, anything that you want. And for the past, I changed my routine for the past week. So I wake up, gratitude prayers, eat a banana, go for a 3 mile run, come home, breakfast, shower, work. And I swear to God, it's like, oh, just feels good to have a routine. Like, you go to work, you're happy, like because obviously like everyone has their different way of dealing with stress and whatever. I deal with it by meditating and running. I took up running 2 months ago, adore it, never done it before. I'm like obsessed. Like, I'm cranking up Daddy Yankee and Bad Bunny, and I'm just like having the time of my life at 5 a.m. No, I swear to God, it's like 5:30. I'm like running, like yeah, but like whatever. Um, and yeah, so definitely building up that habits. And again, like taking it easy on yourself. It's gonna take time. You gotta try a bajillion different things before you get to where you want to go. But for sure, change yourself before you go out to the world and change it.
That's awesome. Awesome. I'm gonna now take the conversation back to our list because you keep adding cool stuff.
I keep
Uh,
adding, don't I? Yeah,
yeah.
feel free to shut me up.
So yeah, remember, so far we have said accepting yourself and accepting that accepting takes time. Then
Yeah,
we talk about accepting you, not make excuses about yourself. Accepting what happened to you in case you have any, pain or pain to lead with, to deal with.
yeah,
Then four, it was accepting accepting the people around you. We were speaking about accepting the people around you, and that means the fact that they might need to change. That you might need to change the people around you, but first you need to accept which ones, accept, and which ones, slowly reduce.
yeah.
And now you mentioned something about one, having. Actually, I think we condensed it in one list. Having a routine to make your days better. We talk about multiple techniques. For you, was having a morning ritual, in the sense that's more like a routine, a morning ritual, completely like no matter what, if your rest of the day goes crappy, you will have done your one most important thing, which is
Yeah,
was your morning ritual, and there was something good in your day. Before you start your day for somebody else, you did your day for you. So
yeah.
that's on proactive mode instead of reactive mode, because after that ritual, you start getting into the reactive mode. Um,
Love that.
I'm very, very, very towards being proactive about your life. And I say, actually, also heard from a podcast the other day, the Mindset Mentor podcast, which I'm going to share with you.
For
Um,
sure.
they, they mentioned that there is two persons, the one before the phone and the one after the phone, because in the instant you grab your phone, you start being reactive. Like you start having to deal with an external world.
Yeah,
While if you wait, like dedicate 2 hours in the morning to yourself without thinking about the external world, about yourself, I mean, that's still possible. But instant you have contact with the external world, you gotta think about your priorities and your tasks and your responsibilities with the external world.
yeah.
So that's something else. So yeah, having a routine to make your days better. Morning routine, definitely. Being mindful about how you react. That's something else you mentioned along of these lines. Then you also mentioned uh, trying to answer. That's actually a very nice technique. The one answering happy, like being mindful about your words. Your words have power, and that came from a writer. So you gotta believe
So it must be true.
it. So yeah. So yeah, we have those 5 steps. Other than that, I know we're a little bit past the time, so
Are we?
I want to see. No, for great if you want to keep this going. I am very happy. Just want to be respectful and acknowledge that I'm, not respecting completely your time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to make sure that it's okay.
For
So yeah, I have those 5 steps for the list. There is something else that you think you will add, or
I think we're good. We're good for today. We did a good job. High
yeah.
five.
Yeah, emphasis in for today, because this
For today.
conversation is,
Emphasis.
yeah, no, we're gonna need to keep this conversation going in a
For
second
sure.
episode,
So
because
much.
this is awesome. This is awesome.
Honestly, I need it. Sometimes you just need to have these conversations. Like you just need to. And like it changed my mood completely. Thanks for having me. Honestly, super honored. Adored every second of it, for sure.
No, thank you. So I'm gonna repeat one last time, and then we are officially done with this
We're
amazing
closing the
conversation.
curtain.
So yeah, step one, accept that accepting is gonna take time. Like no matter what, you cannot climb Mount Everest, as you said, in one day. So yeah, second step, accept yourself, accept what you're like, accept what your dreams are, and accept is everything else is not about you. I mean, like if someone doesn't like what you like, doesn't matter. It's what you like. And as long as you're not hurting other people, you're fine. That's what you like. 3, accept what happened to you, no matter how painful it was. And we mentioned about stop running. We mentioned about empathy, and we mentioned about finding. And here's the third thing we forgot about: finding stuff that came out positive from that. And you mentioned the example of in your case, you actually realized your dream, how you love fantasy worlds, and how that led to your writing. That very very traumatic event happened to you, led to positive stuff. You were able to humanize the people that caused you that pain with empathy, and you stopped running from it with the writing. You actually stopped running from it and started mending yourself. So yeah, that's step 3. Accept whatever pain happened to you. 4, accept the people around you, and accept that you're not going to be able to change the people around you, but you can always change the people around you, in the sense that you can choose who's around you. And that doesn't mean that you don't
Who's at
want
your
them.
picnic table?
Mm-hmm. And that
Who's at
doesn't
your
mean
picnic table?
that was the analogy. It doesn't mean that you don't want the meeting, just not
Yeah.
at your picnic table, as you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, accept the people around you. That's the first step. And yeah, the change doesn't need to be dramatic. It could be one day you're hanging with them 50% of your time, then you could drop it down to 40%, then 20%, and then you may realize that 20% your relationship with them is healthy. So you keep them in that percentage. And finally, have a routine to make your days happier. That could go from having your morning routine, implementing techniques like being mindful about what you say, because whatever you say returns to you somehow. That's the example of saying, I'm happy, when someone asks you how you are, and you're going to have to think about stuff while you're happy. And yeah, more importantly, uh, yeah, those are the things actually. Yeah, where you get into your mind, that's where you're going to get. So yeah,
Love it.
those are the 5 steps. And I think if we implement this, we can make 2020 the best years of your life, like
For sure.
right now. Like, of course, accepting takes time. We mentioned that, but this is a great list to get started by changing the world outside of you, by changing the world inside of you. So yeah, keep making 2020 the best year of your lives, and keep side flowing.